Yeah, we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the State of Emergency podcast. Back again with another episode, and I am keeping my promise of keeping a more regular schedule for the podcast. And yeah, I thought today was a good day to jump on and just say, a couple things about today and the weather and how is it going and yeah, man, we're the newest English speaking podcast in the Czech Republic, broadcasting to you live. And as we transition into the colder months in the Czech Republic, the we're kind of at the tail end of summer. The we've had a little bit of a heat wave, a last late summer heat wave in the Czech Republic, and it's been great. And I hope people out enjoying the sun and getting out and about and getting your last minute ice creams before the winter months start. And yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on that, like as you know, um, I'm a big fan of reading, and I watched the other day. I think it was actually I watched yesterday. Yesterday, I watched a film called The Dead Poet Society, starring Robin Williams. And rest in peace, Robin Williams. Yeah, it's that's a whole nother episode, and that's a whole nother topic, and to talk about, you know, uh, how he passed away. But excuse me, but uh, it's a film with Ethan Hawke and Robin Williams, and without getting too much into detail, basically, yeah, Robin Williams is a English literature teacher who specializes in teaching poetry, basically. And Ethan Hawke is one of his students, and a bunch of the students get together. They didn't really believe in his teaching style. They thought that his teaching style was a little bit different, and they weren't used to that. They were used to more strict ways of teaching. And basically, what Robin Williams was trying to get them to do was to be free thinkers for themselves and not just follow the become a basically to be a sheep mentality, basically break out. And one of his kind of famous lines in that film was "Carpe diem," which is "seize the day," which he wanted the boys, or at least the students, to find how that they can grasp their lives and take it really by the horns and really do great things with their lives. And it really, when I watched the film, it really kind of, I've always been a big fan of reading, but it kind of rekindled my reading. See, I usually read novels and short stories and fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter, novels. So and I haven't really delved or into um, poetry, because poetry is a different type of reading. It's really it's hard to get used to after reading novels a lot, because the reason why it's so difficult to get into reading poetries is because there's certain rhymes and certain pacing that you have to figure out when uh, you're reading poetry, and it's hard to kind of keep that meter and rhyme together when you're reading poetry. So sometimes poetry, you can get lost in the meaning. You can kind of forget what you're reading, or trying to understand the concept of the behind the scenes of the poem. But once you get into it, once you get used to the pacing of reading poetry, the poetry just flows smooth. If it's a good poet, or if the poetry is good, then the words just flow and so smoothly off the tip of your tongue. Uh, Recently, I've been trying to read poetry out loud. I think it gives me a better sense of how the poem is supposed to be read. And what's interesting is I've one of his some of the poets that are mentioned that he's he was talking about Walt Whitman. Which I haven't read, by the way. I have to get into reading Walt Whitman. I have to find some poetry and books on Walt Whitman uh, with some of his poems. Lord Byron is a poet that's mentioned. I'm reading a little bit of uh, Lord Byron's poems, but I've been getting into English poetry because English poetry is a great way to keep up your pronunciation of English, learn new words, and learn new vocabulary because they use certain words that rhyme with other words and into the structure of the poem so that it makes more sense and has a sense of style, and it's smooth to listen to and read, and makes the language so beautiful. And so I was researching English poets and poetry, and because I'm in a good mood, and I wanted to start the Thursday podcast off because with a poem by John Keats. Now, John Keats is an English poet who died at the age of 25. Unfortunately, he died young. He died because of tuberculosis. Unfortunately, it was probably rampant at that time. I'm not so sure how rampant tuberculosis was. So they didn't have a cure. They didn't have a for it, and he got really sick. And he moved to Rome at the Spanish Steps in Rome, and he rented an apartment there or a flat, and yeah. So unfortunately, he died young, but but his poetry is really nice to read and get into. It's a if you're just beginning to learn, English, it will be very difficult to even read the words, the pronunciation. And I don't mean that in any way uh, negative, because some of the vocabulary and some of the words that you might not have recognized because number one, they're in kind of archaic language. Um, on the older side of the English language. So it could be a little bit difficult to even figure out how the word is pronounced or what the word even means, even if you can pronounce it. Sometimes it's difficult. That's what's kind of the beauty of poetry is that you learn as you go, so you can figure out, oh, I don't know this word. I can easily look it up, and then you kind of understand more of what the poet is trying to say. So I want to start, or I want to open with a poem. Now, this poem is great because it seems like times haven't changed that much. This poem was written in the 19th century, the early 19th century. So obviously before he died in the 1800s, and if it's 100 and it's over 100 years since this poem has been written. So it seems like after at least a century that times haven't changed much when it comes to men's wants. Let's put it that way. And so this poem I selected because I wanted to make it fun. Yeah. And I wanted to read it because I wanted to see what it sounds like or what it is to have poetry written out loud. And yeah, so this is a poem by John Keats, and it's called "Give Me Women, Wine, and Snuff." Yeah, and so for those of you that may not know or are unfamiliar of the word snuff, snuff is just a finely um, grained tobacco. So basically what John Keats wants is women, alcohol, and tobacco. Basically, is what he's saying. So without further ado, let's get into the poem. So this poem is called "Give Me Women, Wine, and Snuff." Give me women, wine, and snuff, until I cry out, hold, enough. You may do sans objection to the day of resurrection. For bless my beard, they I shall be, my beloved Trinity. So he's basically saying he wants wine. He'll take wine. He'll take alcohol. He'll take tobacco. He'll take all the women. He won't object to it, and he wants them. He wants them all day, every day, basically. So basically, he's saying he wants to party in this poem, and yeah. So I think I think that hasn't changed. We just want to enjoy life, go out, get lit over the weekend, yeah, or and just enjoy yourself within the moment. Yeah. So I thought that that poem was appropriate for today's podcast. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, man. So we were thinking about going out this weekend, uh, to enjoy the summer, the last, as they say in the Czech Republic, the granny's summer, or the Indian summer, and right now it's raining, so it's kind of bad, but it'll be all right. Yeah. So as you know, switching topics a little bit, is that um, the president of the Czech Republic had been hospitalized. Yeah, I mean that dude. I mean he's been suffering from diabetes, got high blood pressure. Yeah, he's got neuropathy in his legs. Okay, the dude can't walk very well. Yeah, so basically he got checked into the military hospital in Prague for about a week. They decided that they did some tests on him. Nothing's life threatening. He's just died of dehydration and uh, exhaustion. Yeah, and also another former president, Mr. Klaus. He was also hospitalized as well, coincidentally at the same time as Mr. Zeman, and he's suffering from high blood pressure, so they checked him into the hospital. I think they'll be fine. Yeah, and yeah, so we were, you know, I wanted to ask, has anybody ever been to the Shumava National Park? And if so, please let me know in the comments down below if you've ever been, and what was your favorite experience in Shumava National Park. Because I fell in love with uh, Shumava. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's amazing. If you have a chance to check it out, they they have an abundance of hiking trails. And it's great all year round. There's you can go downhill skiing, you can go cross country skiing in the winter time. Uh, in the summertime, there's rafting, not in the national park, the protected areas, but in the Shumava area, there's rafting, and there's nice trails for hiking, uh, nice trails for bike riding, for hiking, for walking, for camping. There's nice sites for campgrounds, and there's this trail called Antigo, which is a famous, or kind of a popular destination for people to go hiking. It's a kind of a flat trail that you can walk, and yeah, on the way there's like a cabin that you can get lunch, and I think there's another area where you can see otters, and there's a river, the Vidra River, that goes through there, and yeah, on the so you can walk and chat with your friends, and just enjoy the nature around you, and have a nice walk. And yeah, the last time that I've been to Shumava, I rented an electric bike, and an electric bike saved my life, literally, because I'm not used to bike riding. So I know I'm going to get roasted for this, that I'm not used to bike riding, right? But I like bike riding because I like bike riding, but when it's flat, I can handle the classic type of bikes. Even the mountain bikes, I can, I can shift through the gears and relax and be fine with that. But when it gets going uphill and you're bike riding for an extended period of time, let's say for 3 hours, you get I get destroyed. I get absolutely beat and dead, and I can't handle bike riding for that long. in a classical bike. But the electric bike is brilliant. You put it on the setting that you want. There's 5 speeds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, and you put it on the speed that you want. And every time you pedal, it gives you an extra boost, and it was lovely. It saved a lot of my legs, and it saved a lot of energy. Uh, like physical energy, right? Because the time before that, I have to give you in some context. So I've been to Shumova 3 times. The first time we didn't I didn't rent any bikes. I didn't rent any bikes. I just went around and enjoyed the scenery and hiked. Second time I went to Shumova, I rented a bike and I got absolutely destroyed. The hills killed my legs. And by the time I got back to the bike rental, I didn't want to see a bike for like a long time. So I said, "Oh no, this is so bad." I didn't want to even touch a bike. I couldn't. My whole lower half of my body was completely destroyed. And then uh and then I was there in Shumova for an extra 3 days, and I was so tired I didn't really enjoy it. So, and then the last time I've been to Shumova, it was for 6 days, and I rented a bicycle, electrical bicycle, and like I said, you just put it on the or not. You can keep it on 0, or you can keep it on 1. One in Shumova, 1, 2. It's enough for your casual bike riders wherever you're going. The trails are not going to be that hectic, because you're not going to take an electric bike on the like off-road stone paths. No, there's there's a nice scenic trip that you could take from a village called Modrava, and you're going to go, and if I'm correct, it's about 10 kilometers. Anybody can correct me, but it's about a 10-kilometer ride on a mostly flat cemented pathway or asphalted pathway into the heart of Shumala for about 10 kilometers. And the last little bit is uphill, and that's where you can kick it on to 1 or 2. And there's a nice game or a former gameskeeper's house or cottage where the game reserve keeper would stay there and protect and watch the like a forest ranger, like a park ranger, like a park ranger's um lodge, I would say, where they would sleep and protect the forest in there. Because at that point it's a class 1 or a first class protected area of the park, and so they don't want anybody there. But now it's not now it was a game a park rangers lodge. Now it's a kind of like a restaurant that you can go and eat there. And it's great. It's a great, and the electric bike really saves you there and back. Mostly on the way back, it's mostly downhill, so you could save your battery on the pack charger, and it's really great. It's a nice trip. There's the water on one side, there's the forest on the other side, and you're surrounded by forest all the time. And then it opens up, and you're in the valley of Shumava, and it's a really beautiful sight. I can understand why Mr. Klesterman fell in love with that area and wrote books about Shumava and wrote novels about Shumava because of what he saw around him. I mean, it's just fantastic. Now, getting back to my story about you know, the getting my legs destroyed. So I didn't get my legs destroyed this time, but I got thirsty. Okay, so I was getting thirsty, and we ended up in a place called it's a mini brewery in Moldova called Lier. Shout out to Lier. They really changed. They really changed. About 4 years ago, it was it was really good. The beer was really good, but they were always out of food. It was like you got there at lunchtime and they didn't have food or anything that used to be on the menu. Yeah. Now you get there, they have what's on the menu you're going to get. They don't run out of food, which is good. So I think they got either a different management put in place, or they updated the system. But now It's a great place to eat. Yeah, it's a little bit expensive, but you're on holiday, so why not spend a little bit of money and go out and have some beers and some food there. The beer is really great. Um, it's really refreshing after a long hike or bike ride, and so yeah, so I was able to enjoy this beer this time. I wasn't so destroyed. Uh, and then I think at the time that we were there, you know, have you have you ever been like a see that's what's great about Czech beer, right? Because like you'll be working hard in the garden, you'll be playing a football match, having a podcast, right? And then you go and have that first beer. That first beer tastes phenomenal. It's very, very tasty. It goes down so smooth. And yeah, because it's a different type of drinking culture here, right? Look, that I've noticed, right? Because you when you go out to have a few drinks, but you don't go out there specifically to get lit, to get drunk, to get wasted. You go out there, you go to the pub, you talk with your friends, and you have a good time, the social atmosphere, and then you go home or have a meal or some food. And I mean, you might get drunk, but the goal wasn't to get drunk. The goal was to just go to the pub to talk with your friends. That was the aim. The aim was talk to your friends, and it just so happens that you may have gotten drunk, but or you don't have to. You don't have to get drunk at all. So, you know, it's a great time to go to a Czech pub. Yeah, it's a great time to talk with friends. It's a great time to meet new friends if you're a little bit on the daring side, and yeah, it's just a good time all around. Yeah. So and I think and a pub is a great place to watch the football. And let's see what is going on here. I got a notification. Oh, it's nothing. Yeah. So yeah, and yesterday was a big match. I couldn't believe it, man. Um, what was it? That's always a fantastic match. I mean, there's got to be something magical about the Liverpool versus AC Milan matchup. Every time they come together to make a match, it's a phenomenal match. It's very, very exciting. It's so great. I mean, it's top class football. Liverpool came out yesterday. They came out yesterday flying. They got off, they got out of the gates really quickly. They kind of slowed down, and I was surprised. I mean, they got the first goal, right, through Trent Arnold. And so I thought they were going to be flying high. Then they kind of mellowed out a little bit, but Robertson crossed it into the middle, and they got the handball, and uh, and Salah missed that PK, that penalty kick. But anyway, at least he got on the score sheet last night, and it was 2-1 at halftime. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be an exciting second half. And Liverpool ended up winning the match 3-2. So it was a excellent match. Yeah. But then after the match, I read an article. After the match, I read an article that there was going to be that SpaceX Inspiration 4 uh, launch where 4 civilian astronauts are getting launched from Cape Canaveral for SpaceX into space, which I thought was going to be after the match. And then I turned in, and then it was like a conversation, Elon Musk live conversation podcast. And I was like, oh, I was disappointed. So I didn't see the launch. I thought I was going to see the launch, but I saw a video of the launch, and it looked like a typical SpaceX, like a heavy, what is it called? That Falcon Heavy, except this time with astronauts. Yeah, it was kind of similar launch experience, but I don't know. I think it's a. I think that it could be a good step for space travel. If I think they have to make space travel safe for people in order for it to be really popular. And I think Elon Musk is trying that. We'll see. But it was really, really, really interesting, and I missed it. But I wanted to see it live anyway, just to see what it was like. Mm, yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna be. I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. I think that was a good podcast for us today. Um, Again, I'm working on a regularly scheduled program. Tomorrow, there will be another podcast tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow. If you've got any questions or if you've got any suggestions, don't forget to hit the like. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification, and I'll get you another podcast. Uh, I'm trying to get I'm trying to get the podcast up. I'm trying to pump out as much content as possible. Um, Most of these podcasts are unscripted. I know I like to go off riff. I don't like to or off the cuff. I just whatever comes up into my head is brought up in the podcast. So yeah, so thank you all for listening, and I will catch you in another episode, hopefully tomorrow, if I don't have any technical difficulties. Yeah. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know in the comments below, or message me, and I will love to have you as a guest on the podcast. We can talk about anything English, any subject you want in English. Let's make it. We can always make it happen, and we'll set up a time, and we'll uh, have a nice conversation. So thank you all for listening. This is it for State of Emergency podcast, and catch you all in another episode. Peace.